Yeah, so hi, I'm Joe Pierce. Glad to join you this afternoon. Today we're going to talk about navigating agile human resources and how can we harness leadership support to do that.
We do have a question here. You'll see thoughts
Yeah,
on job posting. Just wanted to give you FYI that was in the Q&A part.
yeah,
Go for it. You go for it. I'll keep my mouth quiet.
yeah. So very good, very good. And so really in the world of agile human resources, we think through what role does leadership play? And my perspective for today is that leaders played a critical role. Not only do they help our employees feel respected and valued, but they have to set the culture of the organization. They set the culture to learn and to grow. So one of the first things I want to talk about was creating an environment where people feel valued and respected, and and how do we do that? One of the key concepts I want to address is that, and I'll come back to the chat questions, but how can leaders empower agile HR by creating that environment? And I'll throw that out there as a question, and I'll open it up to see what are your thoughts on that. So the first topic really is psychological safety, and that is where leaders can create an immediate impact to come in and make sure that they're doing a few things well. And so in order to do that, I think psychological safety has to do with creating an environment at the job for all employees that ensures that not only they feel valued and respected, that the leaders are also modeling that same behavior. They create that culture of continuous improvement. They allow teams within Agile to create that self-direction and autonomy, and that sometimes that's a hard place to get to. And so, in that pathway to create that collaborative and inclusive environment, they also have to deliver value. And all organizations, whether they're a human resource, they are creating something of value, and they're delivering value and achieving organizational goals. So today we're going to talk about how leaders can support that, how we can have a positive impact on employee experience and promote some organizational outcomes. One question I already saw in the chat is thoughts on job postings for Scrum Masters that are filled with anti-patterns. Can you tell me a little bit more? What do you mean? Or if someone wants to explain that a little bit better, or clarify your question a little bit. Okay. Anyway, while you're thinking on that, I will, in the chat, is tell me some things that, from your perspective, that leaders can do that promote that psychological safety in the workplace. And then we can talk about those. And so one of the keys here for me is engagement with you guys, and I'll elaborate. Yeah, Terrell, thank you. Leaders set priorities and provide guidance, which should focus HR efforts across the organization. Yeah. So I like that, Terrell, and one of the things he's talking about is prioritization. And so leaders help set the priorities. And those priorities come from a deep understanding of the organization. They also come from feedback and collaboration. Yeah, Torreira says transparency in everything. Yeah, and I think that one of the things that we think about in leadership and transparency is also helping to explain to your organization so everybody has the same understanding. It's that same understanding that empowers your people, your teams, empowers decision making. If your employees understand the why, then you'll have corporate buy-in and everybody's moving towards the same goals and objectives. Another thing that as we think about this is, Barbie says leaders set the tone by modeling correct behaviors, responding productively to failure, and conducting blameless postmortems that prioritize learning over finding someone to blame. Very good. And so that is a very agile way to look at that, Barbie, and I appreciate that. And so agile is all about having the right mindset. And so leaders have to come to the place where they reward the vulnerability is what they're talking about. They reward vulnerability, and when you make an error, because errors are going to happen because we're human, is that it's not a punishment response. It's more of a continuous improvement response. We've messed this up this time. The good news is we're in the agile world, we're working in small chunks, small bites, or iterations. And when we work in those small bites, we're allowed to make mistakes. We fail earlier and faster, and then we can correct those mistakes on the way. So we welcome the change and we have to fix it. And that's what Barbie was talking about, is not just blaming each other, but actually being proactive and fixing it. Megan says compassion and communication is huge. Yeah, and I think from my perspective, and I've been in a lot of organizations, compassion and communication are huge. Most leadership competencies all deal with communication. And so I call that compassion and communication is that empathy or emotional intelligence. And so you have to have a little bit of emotional intelligence. So that's not only knowing the strengths and weaknesses of your team, but that's also knowing the strengths and weaknesses of yourself. And so you have to know what you're good at, what you're bad at, what you need to continue to work on, and make a commitment just to fix one or two things each time. Kelly says mutual respect and an open forum for all ideas. I love that. Because when leaders model that mutual respect, they model the behaviors they want to see in employees are much more likely to bring up their concerns, their feedback, and ideas. And so all this, I'm going to shift to the next kind of topic, but psychological safety is one of the biggest things that leaders can do to help shape their, to shape the human resource process and the agile human resource processes within their organizations. And so all this I do teach. We have a course through SoftEd that we teach Agile Human Resource Fundamentals. Great course. I would welcome any of you to attend, and we'll go from there. The next kind of topic I want to throw out there is fostering a culture of continuous improvement. So once we know it's safe and we have folks that are employees that want to contribute, we can now foster a culture of continuous improvement. And we kind of talked about that before. I think it was Barbie who said, going back to responding productively to failure. And so the agile methodology is about continuous improvement. So we might make some mistakes, but we fix those fairly rapidly. So leaders have to play a key role in fostering continuous improvement. Someone also said this in here, is that leaders help prioritize those goals. And so if leaders can be effective, they can prioritize goals and objectives, describe that clearly within their teams so that everybody understands what that process is. Leaders also help coach and mentor at times. Anybody else have any thoughts on how do we foster this continuous improvement, this idea of we have to get better? personally, one of the things that I've always liked within my teams is something as simple. This is a simple mantra, and I think that leaders all can adopt their own. But one of the ones I've used in the past was get better every day. And so, if you can get better every day, that allows you to understand one thing that you did wrong. You might have a long after action review, post-mortem, or retrospective, and you've identified a few things that didn't go as well during the last iteration. And so getting it better every day means, okay, we're just going to commit to one or two of those things. Megan says, keeping an open mind and knowing you won't always have the best idea. Yeah, that's a great one. I believe that in most organizations, you have a group of smart people. And if you only have one person who's doing all the thinking and everybody else is just writing down their ideas, you're really limiting your team's ability to do work. And so by keeping that open mind, going back to my continuous improvement, is you have to get feedback, and also you can collaborate effectively with your teams. And so those are a couple of things that leaders can do. They can analyze and say, where are we getting feedback? If you're not getting feedback from anywhere, then again, you're going back to only the leader is doing all the thinking. And then finally, the collaboration. And leaders have to design those collaborative engagements. And oftentimes that's done through putting the right people, building the right cross-functional team to solve HR problems. And also it is taking a look, is my communication effective? And sometimes when you do the analysis of that communication, you realize we're not effectively communicating. I'm not getting feedback from stakeholders or employees. Okay, great. So the next topic I want to throw out there is a very agile term, and it is autonomy and self-direction. And so when we build teams in agile, whether it's to solve a human resource problem or it is to solve another problem, we build what we call a cross-functional team. So we pull people from various disciplines and expertise, and we put them together to be able to help have different ways of thinking to collaborate to solve a problem. So leaders can help their cross-functional teams by empowering them to do the planning, designing, develop, and delivery. They can give ownership to these teams. These teams and empowering them to do the work, to motivate them to deliver things of value. Any thoughts on autonomy and self-direction? How are organizations solving human resource problems? Are you coming together to build a cross-functional team and thinking through any of these challenges? We'll pause here for a second. Okay, great. Thank you, Sean. Sean says that many of the responsibilities posted on Scrum Master postings are, yes, they're counterproductive to creating self-organized cross-functional teams. So yeah, I have seen a lot of that. And so when we look at and I'm personally a Scrum Master as well. So I think that oftentimes we have to think beyond just the job description and think about what competencies and talents do we need to bring to our organization? And so I challenge organizations. One of the exercises that we do in my Agile human resource fundamental class is we do an employee journey map. And you can look at it from different perspectives. So you can look at it in terms of the employee, and you can look at it in terms of the organization, and you can kind of map out what an employee may be thinking, feeling, doing during that time. And then as well as you could look at it from the organization and say, what skills, what competencies do I need an initial entry Scrum Master to do from our organization? And so when you kind of compare and contrast both of those perspectives, I think it will drive you to not just have a very generic Scrum Master job posting. And I think that's kind of the hard part is, we get caught up in the title of what someone is and their pay grade versus the competencies that we're expecting them to be able to do. Anybody else, any thoughts on that? That's a great question. I'm sure we have some human resource professionals in the group. Any thoughts on just that as we're talking about autonomy and self-direction within teams? How can we promote that even in I'll just say the hiring and onboarding process? And so as you're thinking about that, even during the hiring and onboarding process, we can take a look at how do we set a new person to our organization? How do we get them adjusted to our organizational goals? How do we do things? Do we allow them to have some on-the-job training? Are they allowed to? Are we going to pair them with an existing person in that position? There you go. And this is exactly what I was getting at. Thank you, Kelly. Are we going to allow them to do some shadowing? Terrell said sponsoring. All great. And so all organizations don't have that. Some organizations just drop someone right into their first project or operation, and they expect them to have success. A lot of organizations, and this is also where leaders can take a look at their current processes and say, I want to allow this person to learn and grow. And what a great opportunity is to have them watch an experienced Scrum Master at work. And so another great example. Okay. The next one, and again, any other thoughts on that about sponsorship and not sponsorship, but autonomy and self-direction. Before going too far, another one is leaders can ensure, and I think most importantly, is that new employees have an idea about what is our organizational mindset. So our goals, yeah, great. Some networking, introductions. And I've seen organizations that have a whole checklist of activities they want new employees to do. So they may meet the finance person. They may go sign for some equipment. They must attend at least one monthly town hall, whatever it might be. And Kelly, that's a great one. And I think also as far as organizations and speaking from what's a leadership support activity is define those processes, define what's specific to each of your individuals. And I think leadership can also help promote the correct mindset. And by mindset, I mean to empower agile human resources, you have to have a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. And so what does that mean to you guys out there in the webinar? Fixed versus a growth mindset in Agile. So while you're thinking, I think the mindset is very fundamental to the Agile methodology. The mindset is driven by the leaders. Yeah, great. Terrell said someone who can adapt to new situations. Growth is seeking opportunities to learn new experiences. And so if we can have someone who is open to those new ideas, who can learn and grow, it fits into everything we've talked about today. Our continuous improvement, it fits into our desire to even work as a member of a team. The right mindset can really kind of be the oil that gets all the gears going and helps the team flow better. If you're willing to continue to generate new ideas, learn something new, try a new technique, try a new methodology, and that's why Agile can be very powerful in the human resources arena, because every organization is going to have some challenges. And so when you think about having a growth mindset, if you are eager to learn and try some new things, you can address those challenges. Okay. We're going to keep going to kind of the next topic, which is delivering value. And so very important to the Agile methodology is that we deliver value frequently. So in the terms of human resources, we have to create teams that are able to, we have to create teams and environments as leaders in HR that can meet deadlines, that can deliver on promises. And I think that's very important. And so what are ways that we can deliver value within human resources? Any thoughts on that? What kind of projects are you working on that deliver value? I'll throw up a common one that comes up in my classes, and that is, creating a new training program. Whether it's new and a self-paced training program, or not just an annual training requirement, but something that's of value, where employees get trained in a skill or ability that's useful to them on the job. Any other thoughts on how do we create value? And I'm gonna tie it all back in at the end. We create one way we create value is by getting feedback. And so if we as leaders are serving our employees and we're serving the customer, is that we have multiple touch points where we engage those employees, we engage those customers, and we find out how well are we meeting your needs or requirements. And so we as leaders have to do some kind of feedback loops. Yeah, a simple one is a survey. Everybody loves surveys. But a simple one is a survey, but you can get some feedback. Terrell says, set aside resources needed for training or certifications that add to the organization's capability. That's a great one. And I always say that when you can create that, an opportunity, a learning and development opportunity for your employees that adds value to them as well as the organization, it's a win-win situation. And so when everybody wins, employees satisfaction goes up, employee motivation goes up, and productivity goes up. So there's so many great impacts. And just the opposite, when employees don't have the resources, or they feel that they have to pay for every learning opportunity themselves, then their motivation is also decreased. Their productivity is decreased. Great. And so, yeah, it's a great point. Yeah, you can tell a lot about an organization by how they allocate their resources. Yes. So again, value, and I think if we look at the way of work across the globe, it's changed a lot. And so it's not just delivering products and services for profit. It's more shifted to delivering value now. And so your employees, all employees, want to be valued and they want to create value. So we as leaders have to set that up for them. And then last but not least, really the last topic I want to throw out there for our group is understanding the employee experience. So effective leadership is crucial to, how do we implement agile human resources? How do we improve the overall employee experience? So from my perspective, one of the ways that leaders can do that is they have to understand the human resource processes. And so they have to have a deep understanding from the pre-hire stage to the initial hiring stage, to employee development, to employee performance management, all the way through the exit stages of an employee's journey. And so what happens when a leader understands all those stages of the human resources of the employee experience? What does anybody understand about that? One thing that it does is it allows our leaders to, if they can understand that process, they can now go back and say, I understand where obstacles are. I understand where some of the challenges are. And then once leaders understand where the challenges are where some potential disconnects are between, we'll just say during the hiring process, is now they can try to set some actions up or talk to one of their cross-functional human resource teams to identify some potential solutions to fixing, hiring and onboarding problems. And it goes back to, how do we hire the right talent? How do we retain the right talent? And those are all things that leaders can influence. Any thoughts on how leaders can do that influencing or reduce obstacles? Any thoughts? And I can speak to a couple organizations that I've been working with and so one organization that I'm working with right now has basically identified 5 primary human resource challenges, and they built a cross-functional team to address each challenge. Those cross-functional teams, again, took some leadership involvement to decide which ones of those are, putting the right people in place to solve these challenges. And they allowed these agile teams to basically come up with an iterative process to solve these human resource challenges. And so within these cross-functional teams, they were given a time frame. They're given a schedule of how many iterations they are going to do, and they're going to iterate. And after every iteration of generating ideas and prototyping solutions, they will get feedback. And so what leaders can do is take the time to create systems that generate ideas, solutions to current challenges, and then they can test those ideas out, get feedback on those ideas. Is this a good idea or not? And then they take those ideas and then they can implement them. And again, it goes back to what Terrell said before about prioritizing, is that they can take the best ideas, implement them with feedback, and then monitor the performance or see how well those changes are going to do, whether it's a change to a communication process, or we're going to reduce our timeline. We're going to reduce our timeline for background screening and reduce the overall hiring or onboarding timeline. So things like that could help. And so as we think about it, I know we're winding down, and I just want to give time for some open questions and answers. But as we understand the employee experience, is that the more we can create some collaboration among employees at different levels, if we can collect feedback on a regular basis, gather some data points, leaders can help shape their organizations. They can help them shape them towards growth and success, creating that culture that prioritize that employee satisfaction, and ultimately satisfied employees work a little bit better. They're more productive. So again, if you would like to do some further reading on there, or you'd like to discuss this in one of the upcoming courses, we do an exercise called employee journey mapping as part of my Agile Human Resources class. It's very effective. We walk through all the stages of employment, and we talk about what that employee is experiencing, feeling, doing, what are their obstacles, and that allows us to make adjustments to our processes. And actually, I will be talking about that on an upcoming webinar on, I believe it's July 12th. So please take a look you can look at the SoftEd site, or I know I sent an invite out, but we will talk about navigating some design thinking, and also an upcoming webinar on employee journey mapping. So we'll look forward to seeing any of you if you would like to join those as well. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up, but I would like any additional questions. Please feel free to join in or put them in the chat. So kind of in conclusion, navigating agile human resources by harnessing leadership support is essential to success. It's not easy, but it definitely can be done. We have to use the right approach. And so we have to create work environments that are centered around collaboration, innovation, high performance. Agile human resources is about setting some good goals, working in an iterative manner as we achieve those goals. And that allows us to help stay ahead of the competition, to hire the right talent for the right jobs, retain the right people, promote the right people, and continue that learning and development experience for your employees, so that you maintain the right competencies as work is ever changing. And so the success of agile human resources is very dependent on leadership support. And so not only do we have to be talking the talk, we also have to walk the walk. So leaders have to model the right behaviors. Leaders also have to listen to that employee feedback. And oftentimes that also includes providing the right coaching, mentorship, and developmental opportunities for your employees. And then finally, when you have all those strategies in place, employees will be motivated to thrive and not just survive in your organizations. They will be motivated to participate, and they'll feel psychologically safe enough to participate and generate ideas. So again, leadership is essential to Agile Human Resources and the success. So with that, I think that is all I have for today. Thank you for your participation today and your engagement. You guys have been great. Lots of great feedback and comments in here. Please don't hesitate to reach out or sign up for other future webinars. And I look forward to seeing you